Good evening, everyone. I now call this regularly scheduled meeting of July 15th to order. I have a few agenda changes that I would ask council to take up and approve. The first item is we have 3 appropriations tonight. We'll take up the airport and airport concrete bid, and what was the other one?
There's actually 3 appropriations. Only one is listed specific in appropriations.
Okay.
The other 2 are related to activities. There are items on the agenda.
Okay.
So really the only clear, appropriation is the dishwasher.
All right, so I'm gonna ask council to have a closed session before we go into the appropriations, to get legal advice. Sir? Yeah. The other thing that I'm gonna ask council to do is we have a visitor that I'd like to schedule after the visitor session and after the appropriation discussion. These are the only things, the 2 items. Can I have a motion to amend and approve? Mr. Miller moves, Mr. Nash second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 6-0. All right, I would ask at this time that everyone would join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you today in humility and faith. We thank you for all that you have given us and the many blessings in our lives. We ask you for your guidance and strength. Please show us the way and fill us with courage and wisdom. Please help us to remember your love and grace and to be faithful in our service to you. Please give us the patience and understanding to face our challenges with grace. We ask all these things in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen.
Those that are able to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please do so. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have 2 public hearings tonight. The first is a conditional rezoning request. Mr. Van Orbeck, would you be so kind as to brief council?
Attached for your information, we have a public hearing scheduled. Public hearing notices enclosed and supporting documents related to a conditional rezoning request from Jasia Cosby. The applicant seeks to conditionally rezone 0.807 of an acre from R2 medium residential to R3 heavy residential. Conditional rezoning request, if approved, will permit the placement of a double-wide manufactured home. The Planning Commission recommended approval with 2 proffered conditions as follows. The residence must be placed on a permanent foundation, and the rezoning only permits the placement of a single-family residence, and no multifamily units may be permitted. This is a piece of property that's located in the R2 district on Nottoway Avenue, just to the east of the Courthouse Road intersection. It's been for sale. If you go through that way, there's been a for sale sign previously. Ms. Cosby has purchased that, I believe, with her husband, and they have inquired about different building types, and so her most recent approach to me was to make the process move forward, is to have a double-wide manufactured home. This is the same process we use with the conditional rezoning as Ms. Epps on North Main Street, and Mr. Keller made a request over on Forest Drive.
Triangular piece.
Triangular piece.
Do we require a pitched roof like the one on
We did not.
I don't
on
think we
either of
did.
those 2.
Just the foundation.
Yeah, just the foundation and the,
I had it in my head that
Is that right there on the corner?
not somebody on the corner. This home, I believe, was part of the property originally, and then it's been divided off, and then the portion that Ms. Cosby's purchased is the vacant lot that Jennifer is showing you there.
So, Mr. Miller, this is the house right next to it, and then that's the property.
And that house virtually looks at Courthouse Road, that right-hand turn that you would take, say if you were going to out of town or the landfill or something like that, that Courthouse Road will turn right there.
Right.
That big white house is virtually at the T intersection of that. and this is just to the east, or if you're facing the property, just to the left of the home. It's a vacant piece of property now, you know, obviously water, sewer, electric available and that sort of thing. But we set this up, and the reason we do it this way, and I think there was some consensus, when we discussed allowing double-wide mobile homes as a conditional use in the R2 district. I think some on Planning Commission didn't like pursuing that, because if you look at the size of town, the green area is the R2, and it does not permit double-wide manufactured homes, okay? It allows single-family homes, modular homes, duplexes, and believe it or not, by right allows townhouses. But we advertise this as a conditional rezoning, and this is the piece right here, this little triangle. And that triangular piece of property would have the R3 designation, but the conditions, permanent foundation, and this doesn't mean, because in the R3, you can put multifamily apartment. This would not permit the multifamily. Okay. And we have a public hearing. Planning Commission did hear the request, and Planning Commission, I think Mr. Miller wasn't able to attend that meeting. I think it was a 4-0 vote to approve.
Still has to have the correct setbacks from the road.
She'll have to follow the setbacks as we've described and discussed. So, the setbacks in the R2 district and the R3 for single family are the same. It's a 35-foot front setback unless within 50 feet of an adjacent structure, and then you don't have to be behind that structure. So literally in line with the White House would be as close as she could come. The side setbacks, we've had those discussions, is 15% or 12 feet, whichever is greater. And I think she has over 200 feet of road frontage, so 15% of that road frontage on either side, and the rear, again, 25 feet.
Isn't there a multifamily home on the backside on Tunstall?
There
Like
is.
right next door?
Non-conforming, yeah.
So what's the big deal with this number 2 restriction then? I mean,
With no,
it's already in the neighborhood. I mean,
what's the big deal with number 2?
but why the restriction on multifamily? It's already in the neighborhood and next door.
Because we handle it exactly the same as we handled the other 2 previous requests in residential neighborhoods.
I guess it's good to do it now, and we can't, hindsight, we can't fix that, so.
Yeah, that multifamily, that house is divided up, it's either 3 or 4 units in there.
Yeah.
Couldn't be done again. Nor could that single wide trailer, which is manufactured home, which is just on the other side of that tree line, to the left of those trees, that couldn't be done either.
So if they tore that multifamily unit down, they couldn't rebuild it? They wouldn't
I
have
believe they'd have a
2
2-year
years?
grandfather and have a
2 year, yeah.
reasonable expectation they could put it back. And that's a single wide manufactured home. This is a double wide. I remember being a young man with very dark hair when this double wide was put in many years ago, and that is a double wide manufactured home across the street, single wide manufactured home next door. I don't think there's any compelling reason, certainly, that this could be frowned on. We just use the same conditions as were previously used.
Members of council, do you have any other questions? At this time, I'll now open the public hearing. Anybody would like to come forward to speak for or against this conditional rezoning request? Hearing and seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. And what is the pleasure, council?
Move to approve the request with 2 stipulations.
Mr. Nash has moved. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller seconds. Is there any discussion? I ask for a voice vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 5-1. The second public hearing is to surplus 406 South Harris Street. Mr. Manager, would you brief the council, please?
I'm getting there. Hang on one second. I'm coming. Please find attached public hearing notice and a diagram of property that manager Van Orbeck is requesting be declared surplus. Approximately 2.2 acres, along with improvements, is located on both sides of South Harris Street. If approved, the surplus designation will allow the town to solicit proposals from interested parties to purchase the subject property. Additionally, if the property is declared surplus, manager Van Orbeck is requesting authorization to solicit proposals. And we went through this several times when we got rid of the old town shop, different properties like that. Tessie had requested that we first have a declaration of surplus and then a request for proposals for the actual transfer. And it would be my expectation this would be a transfer of properties. This wouldn't be a lease or anything. The buildings are in such condition. I hope we get a something.
Or I would hope they say sale.
Sale, yes.
We're not transferring this free, I wouldn't think.
It would be a sale of property, and whatever that final purchase price is to be negotiated between you and a potential issuer or respondent to the RFP. But the first step is hold a surplus, and then the second step would be to actually prepare an RFP and ask people to submit proposals.
I got a question.
Yes.
All right, you said we're gonna climb circle.
Pardon?
You said we're going, it's up to the council to declare circle.
That's all this does right now, yep.
Okay, now, we declare this surplus. What happens next?
I'm also requesting in the narrative, the next step would be to actually advertise or produce a procurement process, typically an RFP, where people can submit a proposal of what they would do with the 2.2 acres and what their plan is for the buildings. And I think the key to it is, what are you going to do with the buildings? Are you going to, because status quo is the reason we're moving the way we are. Those buildings are just decaying. If you've been in them, they've taken a dramatic turn south probably in the last 2 years.
Is the LCCDC building one of
That
these?
was my next question.
That's
Not
in
included.
it.
It's not one of these?
No.
That's 410, Harris, isn't it?
I think it is.
Would the RFP include the proposed ordinance for it, Mr. Harf? Like,
This is for a sale, so you wouldn't need the same thing.
Wouldn't need the same.
Let's back up here a minute. Let's back up. Now, originally, I heard that you're gonna put this bid out, and the person that was gonna work on these buildings, that we were gonna try to get them to do something with the LCDC building.
Sure.
Okay, so correct. So what I'm saying is, I don't wanna get into this thing where dragging this thing out. So in other words, I think it should be worded that we put these buildings up for auction, but we also put in the RFP, if we can, that what we would like to do with the LCDC building.
Absolutely. This is just a surplus, just to make
Will
that
allow you to go in that
possible to do an RFP.
If you
or
would like
whatever you
to, I
want.
can provide you a copy of the RFP prior to it going out for approval, Building and Grounds Committee, whatever you would like to do, whatever.
I'd like it to come before the council.
Right.
but this
Next
this
council.
isn't going.
LCDC building specifically noted in this.
But this is not going to auction. It's going to the real estate market, right?
It would go real estate market. But I think important enough in the location, I think it's RFP, I mean, you could put a real estate sign and try to sell it, but we wanna have some, I believe you guys need to have some modicum of control about what happened with the buildings or a timeline, or potentially even a contract that would have a revision or a clawback, condition, so you don't end up like, yeah, we're Nottaway County sold a guy a pretty nice piece of property, and so he's got a really nice piece of property that's growing pine trees and gum trees. So we don't want those buildings just to continue to
Council, you have any other questions before I open the public hearing? At this time, I open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would you like to come forward to speak for or against?
I just wonder what is the zone,
Right, right at the podium.
what is the property zone that, what would it, parks and open space currently?
Pardon?
Is it parks and open space?
It is parks and open space, same as our cemetery, same as this building, it has no zoning designation. That would have to be, once you get your proposals in, then you'd have to craft your zoning request, either rezoning, conditional rezoning, text amendments,
Or would
whatever.
they reveal that?
Yeah, you'd have to make any kind of a contract or a sale of the property contingent on a zoning.
Well, the government, you gotta take a bunch of extra steps. This is one of them. To get to the point that we can receive proposals and that council can make the decision on what they want done with the property. So this is just strictly to surplus the property, that's all.
We-
Anybody else like to come speak for or against? I got you, Mr. Page. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on this item, and Mr. Page, you have a question?
I gotta be honest, I'm more comfortable putting an RFP out and getting proposals before we surplus. If we don't like the proposals, we gotta add it back to the tax rolls.
Well, you're not paid, I mean, just because we surplus, it doesn't mean you've got to sell it.
No.
No.
It can still be surplus for 20 years. So
I
just
think,
because we're surplus doesn't mean it's going on the market tomorrow.
I think the Old Town Shop was surplus 3 years prior to doing something with it, if I remember.
We just have to notify the public that it's an option, that it's out there to possibly be sold.
It's an administrative step that you're required to take, you know? That's
I
all.
would note my Google Earth efforts with the mapping.
I have a feeling someone
I
else
was
did
quite
that.
impressed that came out.
I have a
somewhat
distinct
accurate.
impression that a little helper did that.
No, that is, your very, aged town manager figuring out, Google Earth. I'm very proud of myself.
I thought that was the lines were a little
The lines weren't very straight.
That line in the back's pretty
Well,
crooked.
that is
Give you
accommodation.
give you beef for effort.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? I'd entertain a motion to surplus this property.
So moved.
Was that you, Mr. Page? Is there a second?
Second.
I'll give it to Ms. Williams. Is there any other discussion? Am I right, it's Mr. Miller this month? Ms. Williams, okay. You know I'm old. You had to keep sending me that email. Oh, you did?
She did.
My bad. I'll ask for a roll call, beginning with Ms. Williams.
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries 6-0. Members of council, you have before you two excellent sets of council meetings from our well-able clerk. You may take these up one at a time, or you may dispose of them together. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to accept both meetings.
All right, and waive the reading. Mr. Miller has moved that we approve these minutes and waive the reading. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Nash seconds. Is there any discussion or questions about these minutes? As for a voice vote, all those in favor to approve these two sets of minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 6-0. Now is the first time that visitors may address the council. There is a second time at the conclusion of council business, at the end of the meeting. I am gonna make an exception tonight, and Mr. Arms would like to speak, and, I wanna give council an opportunity to act before you speak, so I'll be calling you back. I see Mr. Thomas here, and I'll get you next, okay? Please come forward, Mr. Thomas. You state your name for the record, please.
Robert Thomas.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Doing fine. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to announce the fact that we're going to have the 9th annual Blackstone Wine and Beer Festival on October 26th, and I would like to make several requests. First, I would like to see High Street from the Armory to the end by the Carriage Museum be closed off. Also, I would like to request the noise ordinance to be waived from 12 to 6 p.m. And I'm not sure whether you have resolved the banner issue, but I'd appreciate if you a request here to see if I could place the banner up for this festival, because it does draw in those people who do not read the newspaper nor hear the radio. When visitors are coming through town, going to the lake or somewhere else, that also draws them in. So I just would like to see if these requests could be made.
Yeah, there's a lot goes on here, and I don't have the greatest memory about, but I do think we have a problem with the banners, and I don't think we've addressed it. Is that correct?
No, I'll move it forward and.
Okay, all right.
We have
So,
an attorney.
I move to approve the, street closure, we'll do them separate, just move to approve the street closure of High Street on that date for that one block.
Mr. Nash moves. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Almond second. Is there any discussion on the street closure?
So the festival will be held in the street this year and then on the grass, or I don't know if the Armory is gonna be ready by then.
Well, then, I'm just, it's just the street to be closed, like place the band on, and the food, trucks there, and then everything else is over on the tavern grounds.
On the tavern grounds, okay.
Any other questions? Ask for a voice vote. All those in favor of approving the street closure, please say, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 6-0. Mr. Nash, you have the floor.
What will the hours be for the noise ordinance, just to make all citizens aware?
12 to 6.
The band will start playing around 12 and conclude it. They'll be finished at 5, but everybody be leaving at 6. So basically, the music will stop at 5.
I think that clarifies a whole lot of late night noises as well. I move to approve of waiving the noise ordinance on that day from 12 to 6.
Mr. Miller seconds Mr. Nash's motion to waive the noise ordinance from 12 to 6. Is there any discussion? I'll ask for a voice vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? That motion carries 6-0. Chairman Allman chairs the Health and Ordinance Committee, and you just got a commitment for him to take the banners up. So certainly, maybe we can have you an answer forthwith, so you can.
Okay.
May I ask a question first, though? Is it to raise funds for a 501c3 organization?
Yes. Nottaway County Historical Association, as
Well,
well
I mean,
as,
it
as well
actually,
as some of the money's going to the Carriage Museum.
it actually, without advertising businesses on it, it meets the requirements now. Because it is for a 501c3.
Nothing, it's the same banner I put up every year. There's no businesses or anything on it.
I have a motion, can we approve it?
I need to read the minutes, but I'm pretty sure we have a stop on all banners at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll read them afterwards.
Oh, we did?
I'll make a motion that we approve the request for the banner.
Mr. Page moves that we go ahead and approve this request tonight. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And Mr. Gorman seconds. Is there any discussion?
Yes, it
Mr.
is.
Allman? Oh, go ahead.
Because I feel like there's a thing out there about these banners. Let's get this straight before we tell this man that he can put something up and then something comes back and we back in the same shape. Let's get it straight. I don't wanna knock his banner. Don't get me wrong. But like Jake said, let's get the banner situation straight. Then we all be on the same accord. Are you agreeable to that? Right.
We'll take it up in a vote. Any other discussion?
This is truly another example of why we need to, I mean, we have great records, but just some type of a list of motions, status by group items.
I promised you when I got through the budget that I would start that, and I will.
I understand, we're a year and a half in, and I just.
I'd like to have it in the package. Yeah, that's my goal.
Yeah.
Is
See,
it-
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Oh, I totally get you, man, I do,
But
and
just
I remember
want to
discussion
make
on it.
sure Let Jake check it out, then let Jake bring it back, so everybody will be on the same accord, and you won't have everybody up here hooping and hollering why you did this or why you did that. That's the only thing I'm saying.
Yeah, my only point was that it does, with that in mind, it does meet the requirements that are in place with the code now, the rules.
Do we
And
need to hold the meeting up? Do we need to wait for you, gentlemen?
Pardon?
Do we need to wait for y'all to finish?
No, we're good.
I would say it does meet the requirements under our ordinance. He is a qualified individual under our ordinance, and the ordinance is in place regardless if we've passed a banner stoppage or approval stoppage. He said he's not advertising sponsorships. You know, nothing in his request is out of our ordinances.
We're not saying that it is, Chris. The only thing I'm saying is let this man go back, bring it back, let him go back, study the thing, bring it back, everybody on the same accord. That's all I'm saying.
that's fair enough, I mean, we have time,
Right.
so that's,
Everybody be on the
Yeah.
same accord, and then we won't be out here looking stupid.
Who's on that committee? I don't.
me,
That's
Who is it? You and
Jake's chair.
me and
I have
Jake,
instructions, I was just waiting for us to get caught up with it right before I
Lawyer.
ordered the paperwork.
Right.
Any other discussion about the motion? The motion is, Mr. Page moves, Mr. Gorman seconds to go ahead and allow the banner to be put up immediately. Any other discussion? I think I might have a split vote, so I'm asked for a roll call vote, beginning with Ms. Williams.
Nay.
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 nay, with the reason we discussed.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
That motion fails, 1-5. But you do have a commitment to get to you very shortly. Is that correct,
Good.
Mr.
That
Alden?
is correct.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And we appreciate what you're doing. It's a great thing. I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from DBI. Our director, please come forward. Just for the policy, please, Nancy, please state your name for the record.
Nancy Alexander, I'm the director for Downtown Blackstone Incorporated, and I appreciate y'all's time this evening. I just have a couple of things. My monthly report is already in your packet, so I won't belabor that. I've talked with Philip about an outstanding loan we have with Nemir LLC, and he asked me to take it to the board, to the DBI board, who asked me to bring it to you guys to get your tax folks involved to help with collections on this. Am I saying that correctly?
Tax is our collections attorney. The DBI is asking the town to assist with using tax, not so much the town, but allow tax to assist. with-
At no expense. Their income comes from
There may be
collection.
expenses like advertising, title work.
Yeah, but no major expense.
No, no legal expense.
Not the bills like we're getting from Mr., never mind. Little levity, Mr. Harf. You know I appreciate you.
It's some funds that come out of the revolving loan pool that the town and DBI share, so there's justification for asking to use tax.
It's a significant amount of funds that could, by recovering the funds, would allow us to do more projects downtown, so it would be to everybody's benefit to collect them, but we don't have the resources to do that.
Mr. Harf, you have the floor if you'd like to make a motion.
Make a motion to allow the use of tax for the collection of the revolving loan funds.
Is there a second?
Second, for discussion. I guess the
Go ahead.
tax fee will be tacked on top of, just like taxes every other time, correct?
Yeah.
The only time we pay fees is like if there's a title search
Yeah.
or an advertising requirement or something like that, but not the actual legal fee.
What's the name of the debtor and the amount as well?
The debtor is Patricia Lee and her husband, and the amount is $7,983.33. The corporation is
Is that what it is?
Nemir LLC.
That's the only one? That's the only one.
Yeah,
Yes,
there's one
sir.
instance.
Yes,
Is
sir.
there
We just want to get the money back so we can start loaning it out again.
any more discussion, council?
Are they gonna continue to go after the other balance with them as well?
Excuse me?
I think they still have a balance on meals tax. Are we still continuing to go after them with
We
tax as well?
received a letter, I think Brittany received a letter or communication from tax that we have filed some judgment perhaps, treasurer's lien,
We filed some big liens, but
and the court responded that those are protected funds now, so that would mean it's either a pension or, what was the other alternative?
Social Security,
Like Social Security or pension funds, that were the only things in there, so, I think we'll, at next council meeting, if we can't make any more headway, we will ask for direction from council as far as criminal charges go. I think we've exhausted for the most part, so.
I thought they paid everything but the legal fees. They hadn't,
Well, they paid everything except $893.
is that legal fee?
163, so
160.
they owe us about, they owe us 600.
Well, they owe us $897, I think.
Well,
Okay.
I think my question about this is it gonna cost the town more to pursue this $893?
Not with tax, because it's pass through.
I'm
I
all,
think tax is exhausted. The response from the courts or from the banks is that it's a protected fund, so either pension or social security.
I'm
You
gonna
can't
allow,
get the money, right?
I'm gonna allow a little bit of leeway here. This is not an agenda item, and I have a motion and a second on the floor. So,
Well, I think the reason, and I apologize, I think that, is this a town of Blackstone collection or a DBI collection?
It's really a DBI collector. The contract is with DBI. They're just asking us to assist them get it done. I don't think they have either the resources, the expertise to do that sort of thing. We have that in place.
The justification is the town and DBI share two funds that are both for revolving loans.
Right.
They're both the same.
It's the same taxpayer money
Yes.
being put out from local citizens,
And we
yeah.
don't- and we just don't have the resources to do it.
And then the legal fees will be added on to what's already due.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost town anything.
Any other discussion? Mr. Allman has moved, Mr. Nash has second to allow town manager and his staff to assist with collecting this debt using tax. I'll ask for a voice vote. All those in favor, please indicate by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. One more quick thing.
Absolutely.
We do have the contract ready for the build on the pavilion. Our new chairman, Kelly Cheney, signed it this morning, but she would also like to have the town manager's signature on that because you guys are technically the property owners. And Philip asked me to request you all.
I appreciate that, and I think that's wise. I don't have any intention of signing a document without the express approval of council, so I'd ask for a motion to authorize the manager to execute this contract along with our new chair, Ms. Kelly Cheney.
So moved.
And Mr. Gormas has moved. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Nash is seconded. Is there any discussion?
I hate to be a stickler.
It's just for the permission to be on the property. Because there's a line that says owner on the form.
Okay, so we're not committing any funds or anything?
We'd already committed that.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
all.
that's right.
Any other
I just
discussion?
don't like signing contracts without seeing them.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's
can
an
I
odd
see it?
situation.
Yeah, I was
We're
gonna say,
trying to
can I
fix
see it, and then you
what's
bring it back later in the meeting, but, you know, that's fine.
I ask for a voice vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 6-0.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Any other visitors that would like to come forward at this time?
Who is the contract with, just so I
Ray?
It's Ray Fox Outdoor
Ray Parks Outdoors.
Ray Fox.
Ray Fox.
Ray Fox Outdoor.
of Southern Pines, North Carolina.
How you doing tonight? Regardless of my policy, I'm not gonna ask for your address, but I would ask for your name for the record, please.
Deborah Damon, Blackstone resident, and we've actually just gone over 1 year as a resident, so
Glad to have you.
yay.
Wonderful.
I think this is the 4th time I have got up here to speak to you, and I have had the occasion in this last year to request specific help from the town 4 different times, just coincidentally. And in a world where it's much easier to get all the complaints instead of the kudos. I have no concerns and I have no questions tonight. I actually have a thank you from my husband and I, because our schedule as such, you're probably not going to see us for a little while. We're not moving away. You just may not see us for a while. We inherited a property that has a lot of trees and has a lot of tree problems. We knew that. We contracted with a local tree person to take care of a lot of those trees. Some of those trees impact our neighbor. We know, our neighbor knows, and our insurance company knows that as long as those trees are healthy and not in danger of falling, et cetera, not dead, that we are not obligated to do anything to the trees that overhang their property. However, as being a good neighbor, we tried to do the right thing, and so we did hire a tree company to come and take those trees out and just get rid of the whole problem. Miscommunications that have nothing to do with any of you. Those trees, when I had all the other tree work was done, those 2 trees did not get taken out. So I had to call the town because those trees were impacting power lines. And so while the town has no need to remove trees for me, I didn't need them removed. I was trying to do a nice thing for the neighbor. We were concerned about the safety because of the power wires. So from my initial phone call to the town, speaking with your very capable secretary in the front office, to my 2 phone calls with, I believe it's Mr. Dan Martin, to my 2 phone calls with him, he assured me that, yes, they did need to be looked at because of the power lines, not because of a private citizen desire to have them removed. He said they would try to get to them. That was the week that we were having 100-degree weather. They showed up the next morning, very early, I'm sure to beat the heat. I was not prepared, but I was thrilled that they had shown up, so I told them, please give me 5 minutes so I can put something appropriate on my body, and I was outside with them looking at what needed to be done. We assumed they would be able to take care of the trees from our side of the property. That was not the case. As soon as they got out there and they saw what the issue was, they knew they would have to go into the neighbor's yard to take care of the problem. From the minute they knocked on my neighbor's door to getting the trees taken care of, all hell broke loose. And your employees were treated unkindly, unprofessionally, and a whole lot of other words that I won't say here. It was an imposition. She was mad that the trees weren't being taken out. She was mad that the town couldn't take out all the stuff that was hanging over her patio that was bothering her. I'm not going to throw her under the bus, nor am I going to excuse her actions. But it was horrible. And the 3 men that showed up, instead of treating her in kind or throwing up their hands and saying, well, fine, if you don't want us here, we're gone, made a phone call, called the appropriate authorities, and Mr. Martin actually came and showed up. Her complaint was that she had no notice, she didn't know what was going on, even though she was telling everybody we had talked for an hour about exactly what she wanted done. So she didn't even have to be there. They just needed permission to be on her property, and I could show them exactly what the issue was. And so for an hour of her saying what an inconvenience the town was putting her in, she took an hour of their time telling them what an inconvenience it was for her and how she didn't have time for it. Your employees were exemplary. I'm not used to seeing men have that self-control and not come back at you, or again, like I said, to leave. So hours later, which should not have taken that long, the trees were taken care of, the wires were free, there's no safety issues back there anymore. The trees are still there because there was no reason to take them out. They probably trimmed more than they needed to on her side of the fence, just because she was being such a pain. And so to not exacerbate the situation, I think Mr. Martin said, go ahead and do this and this and this, and then let's get out of here. And that's exactly what they did. And so for the 4th time in a year that I have been here, I've called the town. I've said, we have a problem. Please, can you help take care of this? How do I go about it, doing it in the right way, not asking for special privilege, just making sure I know what the town is responsible for and what I as a citizen am responsible for. And all 4 times, your employees have shown up and done their job, done it well, done it respectfully. And I just wanted to say thank you
Well,
very
we
much.
appreciate you sharing that.
Wonderful.
And our town associates make us look good every day. And Mr. Manager, if you'll pass along this grateful citizen, and we're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Any other visitors at this time? Hearing none, Chief Bears, would you mind coming up and giving your report, sir?
Good evening, everybody. Dion is out of the country until later on this week, so I'll be filling in. Nothing to pass along on the radio system. Still in the works. Possible date in 2 years for completion. There's a lot of parts and pieces that go along with that. No update in the fire code, as you can tell by the notes. Dion and some of us are working on some grants for forestry grants and firefighters grants for the diesel systems in the bay. Tower 6 had its first call, its first fire call, went down to South Hill. I'm sure you all have seen that. We were a vital role in the fire itself. We were there for about 5 or 6 hours. And kudos to that. We were there for a while. We had some gear that got some chemicals on it, so we cleaned it, dried it. We're getting ready to send it off to North Carolina to be checked, just to make sure we got it all off. South Hill sent off probably 8 or 9 sets that got soiled. Ours didn't get soiled, but we just want to make sure all the guys and girls are taken care of. So that's been taken care of. Our tanker's still out of service. Talked to Tim today. Hopefully by Thursday or Friday we'll have the tanker back, so we still have Crew's spare tanker. So if y'all see them, thank them for that. We've had that for about 2.5 weeks now. Blood drive was on the 28th. Collected 14 units of blood, saving 42 lives. Let's see what else I put here. Hose testing. So we do this every year. Normally comes around June, July. We had probably about 5 or 6 sections fail that we've sent off to get fixed. And with that, we have a lot of old hoses sitting around. We got some at the burn building, have some. Yes, that's the next paper. Yeah. So I looked online and seen that the zoo takes fire hose and they put it in the cages and put them around some barriers, I guess you could say, at the zoo. So I reached out to them, sent them a picture of what we have. There's some old spare hose that's failed. It's got holes in it. We can't use it. So it's roughly about 400 to 500 feet of hose. So reached down to about surplusing that this month.
You need that done tonight?
That would be great.
Is there a motion to surplus this fire hose?
I'll make a motion that we surplus this 500 foot of.
It's probably about 500 feet total. It's 1 3/4 and some 3-inch hose.
Mr. Miller moves. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Gorman, second. Is there any discussion? Hearing
Anybody would like
none,
to?
all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries 6-0.
Thank you all. And then when we do take the gear up, or the hose up there, if anybody would like to go with us, we can take some folks up there with us. They're going to take it in and kind of show us where it's going to go and what it's going to be used for. So if anybody would like to come along, I'll pass along the dates. We stood by at the fireworks at the Eagles and out at Fort Barfoot as well. And we have some members here. Hunter Oaks, 8 years of service. Chris Parrish, 2 years of service. Bianca Repollet, 2 years. Julie Wheat, she's 1 year of service. And Tessa Gilmore passed her state hazmat and her firefighter 1, so she's fully firefighter 1 certified now.
I've been asking for a round of applause for those over 20 years, but nevertheless, please pass along our appreciation
Will do.
and congratulate Ms. Gilmore for us, okay?
Definitely will.
And I've got some comments during the mayor's minute where I'm gonna be speaking about the fireworks.
Okay. Awesome.
All right, anything else?
Yeah, I got a question.
All right,
I got a question, Mr. Mayor.
okay.
I know it says here that you guys are working on conducting the cost-benefit analysis for the ALS drug box. I know it's a couple months old now. Is that on top priority?
Yes.
Do you know when we'll should
So,
expect some
It's got to be done by November. We're working with the squad to figure out the best way to get the drugs to us cheaper, get it to us in the best method possible. It's statewide. You know, all the drug boxes that we keep in the units, they have to go back and carry our own drugs. So we're going to be working with the squad to get that done. The past 2 months, they've really been jumping on it. It's got to be a security system. It's got to be locked. It's got to have camera system. It's a big line of things that we have to have, and we're trying to make sure we have that, and the squad can help us to get the drugs in too. So
Okay.
it's definitely a joint process, but definitely past couple of months they've been jumping on it.
So we should have some final numbers November, you're saying?
September probably would be, they'll probably be able to give you a direction on which way we're going to go. So
What are we doing for patients between now and then? I mean, how are we
it's
handling?
still the same.
Still the same?
Still the
Okay.
same. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Anything else, council? Thank you, Chief.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. Members of council, you have before you 2 sets of bills. The first batch has been paid, but not yet approved, and that is in the amount of $361,347.23. I would entertain a motion for approval after any questions. Mr. Nash moves. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller seconds. Is there any questions about this particular batch of bills? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Ms. Williams.
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries 6-0. The second batch of bills, they need to be approved and paid in the amount of $614,232.27. May I have a motion to approve?
I motion to be approved.
Ms. Williams moves. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Nash seconds. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. I see Hawthorne Investments on here. I'm not trying to say nothing's going on, But what I'm saying is, I see them on everything for cleaning services, so how is this broke down? Is this broke down in departments
Each
or?
department has it. I asked the same question, not so much about the breakdown, but it was the name, because our
Right.
contract's actually with a different company.
It's,
They have a
it's
system.
Hawthorne doing business as Jan Pro.
Yeah.
So it's Jan Pro, which is the contract we have with the
But
cleaners.
it is broken down.
Okay, cause because if you look on every department, they're there, so that's what I was wondering about. That's all I got.
That's a great question, Mr. Miller. Any other questions or concerns?
The fireworks renting lights, that didn't come out of the original money we donated?
It did not.
That's additional?
It was- After you guys had approved your monies, I think that, some of the meetings out there at Pickett, I think there was a request to have some sort of lighting at each of the parking attendants, as I understand. I believe I think there were 5 of them. Mr. Page approached me about it, and I said, well, we're gonna have, and the post is requiring, and so it did not come out of the original 5,000, but it's $410. It was under the 500, it is not budgeted, and did not require an appropriation. However, I would like to thank Carter Machinery. They rented us 5 for the price of 4. So Carter Machinery down South Hill or La Crosse, wherever their address is, did donate one to the town for the weekend or for the event. Excuse me.
Any other questions?
Just, Utility Service Company Incorporated, exterior work, tank 3, wastewater. Is that just painting the tank, or
Hang on a second,
that's on
it should be a washout, but let me get.
page 91 of 386?
What page is it on the bill part?
Should be in order.
You said 91?
91 of 386.
Number 8,
It's $93,466
exterior work.
for exterior work.
That's
They repainted the outside and cleaned the inside, and repainted
Oh, they did inside too?
the inside and outside of the water tank located near the, what used to be the movie theater, what is now again the movie theater. That one tank was repainted.
Tanks that size probably require inspection every so often, right? I mean,
I think we have it on schedule for every, maybe 10 years, or at a full painting and interior. painting. We have washouts on a regular basis. This is actually the work that they do.
all right.
You know, I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing these illegal fees. $40,550. Come down here, you got $5,343. I don't know what we got into this budget for this year, but
We don't have a line item specific to legal fees. We've got a professional services line that has $100,000 in it, and that does things like engineer, legal fees, those kind of things. And I'm getting the feeling we may come to you for an appropriation review.
I'm getting the feeling we won't have enough.
Yeah.
We'll probably have to talk about appropriation later in the year. But the alternative is stop calling it. So I've reviewed his bill and,
I like that. I'm calling him.
I might have had 2 conversations with him since he's been there, but I've reviewed these bills thoroughly and he's treating us fairly and I think he's doing a marvelous job.
Well, I just brought that up so council could,
Sure.
be aware.
So legal fees are not in the budget?
They're under professional services. They're
And
in the budget.
professional services.
In there with engineering and,
Yeah.
coupled together.
okay.
If I may add one part of that, so something that's going on right now is we have this eminent domain lawsuit, which is litigation is inherently gonna take more time than just running the middle of general counsel type duties.
I'd also like to point out, members of council, that we didn't have an attorney for an extended amount of time. And these last billing cycles, he's been playing catch-up. So, that's just my 2 cents for the council.
What's the backflow services Inc. for almost $8,000? RPZ work and test.
The backflow preventers at the water treatment plant. And having inspections and RPZ. I'm afraid I can't tell you the engineering term. What it is, it's a backflow and keep water from backflowing into the system that may be contaminated with bacteria. Restaurants are supposed to have them, ice machines.
Sprinkler
There's
systems.
supposed to be irrigation systems have to have them, and that would work on the one at the water treatment plant.
Any
like,
oth-
I feel like we're picking on wastewater, but I just saw it earlier. Crew water line,
Yeah.
$1,020. Are we still
It should,
trying to go down? Is that
that
just an
should
old bill?
about wrap it up, but that was the last series of, reviews from our engineers when we were submitting. I can pull the invoice to tell you exactly what it was. But,
It might have been-
obviously, you see the crew water line sort of thing. Do I think we're moving forward? I don't know anything. I haven't heard anything since the date that the state told us they were gonna start working with crew directly, and that was it.
That might have been our response to the state.
Mr. Nash, that's an excellent question, but for members, for the audience and for those that are, listening, the B&B Consultants is who we're paying. The crew water line was what they're working on. I didn't want us to give an idea that we were doing contributions to the town. This was for our benefit and our proposal.
To the state,
Right.
based on the questions from the state office.
There've been some really good questions tonight. Are there any more? I ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Ms. Williams.
Aye.
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 That motion carries 6-0. We're under the appropriation section. Mr. Manager, would you take the lead on this, and let's do whatever we can do before we adjourn closed session?
Okay, there are 3 appropriations that are actually in your, packet. 2 of which are with items on the agenda if you'd like to discuss them. One is with a VDOT and the other one was with the airport concrete project.
Let's take on the concrete project at the airport and dispatch with that.
Be number 1, unfinished business, Jennifer. It says, please find attached a solicitation of sealed bids for the installation of approximately 550 square yards of concrete at the Allen with an A C. Perkinson Airport. The taxiway connector will permit direct access to the airfield, fueling aprons, and taxiways. The project will also eliminate maintenance problems for the town. It's just a big grassy area in between the paved fueling pad and the asphalt road that goes in there. Sealed bids were publicly opened on June 20th, 2024. Sole bidder was S. Walker Construction, submitted a bid in the amount of $54,900. I thought it was going to be in the 60s, but it's actually a little less than my estimate. And we are asking that, and the cash is set aside before we bid out things. We like to have the cash set aside, so the cash is in the money market account to
And
cover
that
this.
excuse me, and that cash came from fueling aircraft, not
Solely
from
from fueling
taxation.
aircraft, for reconciliation of, really, that's our only revenue other than maybe rental hangars, which is a relatively small amount.
I just want to make the point that that didn't come from tax.
Revenues at the airfield, going back in the airfield. The money is available. There is an appropriation attached to this because it was not in the budget. Rarely do I ever put capital projects in the budget for the airport because we wait and see how much money we have and grant awards and that sort of thing. First of all, I'm asking that you award the concrete project to S. Walker Construction in the amount of $54,900. And number 2 would be an appropriation taking out of miscellaneous cash on hand. We have the money in the money market account and putting that back into the budget under building and site improvements in the airport fund for $54,900.
I'm gonna take this up in 2 items. The first, you've heard the manager's request, and that is to award $54,900 bid to S. Walker Construction. May I have a motion?
Before we vote on that, just out of curiosity, under our contract, annual contract, how would that number have compared if we go off of our contract?
We don't have a bid out for an apron. We do curb and gutter, drop inlets, handicap ramps.
Concrete slabs not in there.
A sidewalk would probably be the closest, but kind of a different animal. This is a pad that a vehicle or aircraft
Well,
would
it's a
drive
good
across.
question. I think you, I'm not trying to put,
If it was already in there.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but it's just a good price. Is that,
Yeah.
that's what I'd like.
This is actually kind of outside the scope of that.
But it's a good price. Okay.
So the sale of fuel covers the expense, but the money's coming out of miscellaneous revenue?
Well, it's already.
Well, I think that's how she's labeled it, but the cash truly came from the sale of aircraft.
The
fuel.
revenue of the air.
Absolutely, that is the case.
I just wonder why we wouldn't use that as the, I mean,
We can change the title if you like, but it's cash on hand. Fund balance that we're putting to it.
well,
Because all the funds are in one account, so that's why it comes down to that.
Well, to that point, that's when we were talking about the budget and numbers, and I made mention that the airport sale of fuel covers most of their expenses.
Should
That's
cover
been
100%
said
of the
before,
expense,
so
right.
it's not an expense to the town at all, really, but it's coming out of the miscellaneous revenue account.
Gotta be a pass-through, in and out.
I mean, we can call it fund balance, you can call it whatever you'd like, but it's cash
Call it
on
what it
hand.
is. I mean, that's all I'm saying. It's for the airport. But
And we can add miscellaneous airport revenue. if you
miscellaneous
like.
revenue and general funds are not bad things.
We could just add fuel revenue, airport. That's where it's
However you
coming
want to
from.
title it, and make it clear for the auditors, make it clear for y'all.
Yeah, that would be, I think it'd be better.
Council, what's your pleasure? Mr. Miller moves to approve this bid. Is there a second? Mr. Nash is second the motion. Is there any more discussion? Ms. Miller, I'll ask you to start us off in a roll call vote.
You said Ms. Miller.
I did not. I'm tired. I greatly apologize.
We are not having an affair.
I'm so sorry, Ms. Williams. Would you start us off with a roll call? Ms.
Yes.
Williams?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries 5-0-1. I'll ask for a vote to appropriate these funds. Is there a motion to do so?
Move to appropriate, with the change of title if we can on the journal entry.
Thank you.
Just to
Miscellaneous
make it clear.
airport revenues.
In the amount of $54,000.
Mr. Nash has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Page seconds. Is there any discussion? I'll ask for a roll call, beginning with Ms. Williams.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0-1.
The second appropriation is under VDOT. And that is going to be new business number 2. If you would. Everybody catch up? We good? New business number 2, please see attached a revised annual street payment schedule prepared by VDOT. Based on the updated rates and the addition of Rolling Acres Lane, the town's maintenance payments for fiscal year 25 will be $1,488,971. The town's recently adopted budget included revenue for street maintenance in the amount of $1,428,000. In order to expend the additional revenues, Manager Van Orbeck is requesting approval of the appropriation included in the amount of $60,971. So
Members of council?
Rolling Acres Lane is now in the state system,
Okay.
or the town system, and we're able to be paid back for it. And you can look on the first page of the VDOT commentary. They always send this stuff to me after the 1st of July when the budget's already adopted. So that VDOT money, we usually use the year previous figure, and it turned out to be $60,971 more this year, and it will go into, I think, the secondary, materials and supplies secondary line. Because I'm planning on doing much more secondary work next year with tar and gravel projects, specifically in the West End.
Members of council, you've heard the manager's request. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Nash moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Gorman second. Is there any discussion? I'll ask for a roll call, beginning with Ms. Williams.
Aye.
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 This motion carries 6-0. At this time, we're gonna adjourn and go into closed session.
I'm sorry. There's actually a couple other appropriations. Do you want to handle them now?
It's only 3 appropriations I thought we had.
Yeah, the aluminum sulfate.
That's just a regular bid.
That's just
That's under
regular.
chemicals.
Okay.
So, at this time,
Free.
I'll ask, in a moment, I'll ask the clerk to read an appropriate motion for us to go into closed session. Before we take up the final appropriation, our well-able town attorney would like to render some legal advice. We're gonna adjourn back in here. I wouldn't put you guys out in the heat. I also wouldn't wait to the end of the meeting, then come back. I want full transparency. So, y'all are free to stay here. We'll be back in open session as quickly as we can. Madam Clerk, do you have a motion?
Yes, if I could get a motion to go into closed session under Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A, under legal matters for appropriation of the arms ditch for consultation with legal counsel employed